Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Lou Lobsinger Jr. Lou, our paths have crossed so many times. We were just recapping real quickly for 30 seconds before we went online. I think I met you, and each time I kind of met you briefly along the way.
Yeah.
We both were involved in Immerman Angels, which is actually a t-shirt I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
I'm a testicular cancer survivor. You're a testicular cancer survivor. So we met back in the day.
Yeah.
And our mutual friend, Jeff Immerman, randomly kind of connected us through coffee.
Yeah.
And I know, through the, and you're healthy and all, and that's great. And I know when you have a 17 and 15-year-old now, you've always been an entrepreneur into brand management, marketing, PR, strategy, and content strategy. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you about just entrepreneurship and really just kind of your new venture and really starting a new venture during this kind of COVID era.
Right.
You've worn a lot of hats, you've done a lot of strategy. But now you're opening up JR's, barbershops. And so you've got an interesting background. But, before we get into that, I just want to talk about kind of the spirit of an entrepreneur, right? And so an entrepreneur today, I think, is a little bit different than even 3 months ago, because I think a lot of people who were on the fence and not thinking about their own company kind of really kind of reconnected with their values these last couple months while in quarantine and said, you know what? This is actually what I want. These are my values. This is what I want. This is the type of job I want. This is how much time I want to spend more time with my family. This is where I want to live. This is what I want to do. And so what does an entrepreneur of today look, sound, and feel like?
And that's such a good point, because I really feel like a lot of it is this desire to have more control of our lives, right? I mean, let's look at the 9-to-5 workday. That 9-to-5 workday is such an old business model. And a lot of us aren't designed, either physically or emotionally or whatever, to work 9 to 5. I mean, I'm like that, for example. I mean, I have told anybody that I've ever worked with that around noon on Friday, anything after noon, don't pay me for that. I should never be paid for afternoon, because mentally I'm gone. I'm out. I really am. But you know what? From like 9 p.m. until midnight on a Tuesday night, I'm a rock star. I can get a ton of stuff done. But once you kind of understand who you are, it makes it a lot easier. And I think that's one of the greatest things about entrepreneurship in this country. If you have a great idea, we'll let you give it a shot. The market will tell you if it's going to work or not, right? I mean, you can truly make something happen, and you can design it in a way that is more suited to you.
Yeah.
And I did the 9-to-5 thing for many years. I jumped on airplanes for many years. I showed up at events for many, and I did that, and all that entire time, that was just not who I really was.
Yeah. It's so interesting what you're talking about, because it's really about just changing the mental structure of not only business, but of ourselves, in the sense of, when you're an entrepreneur, you actually work way more than 40 hours a week. Your brain is always on, you're always churning. And it's about finding those kind of sweet zones that, that you can work and really determine kind of where your creative, flow just kind of keeps on coming.
Yeah.
So just on that note, though, because I'm a big believer, the same level of consciousness that got us to where we are is not the same level of consciousness of where we want to go. Resetting that structure, we've kind of all been forced into resetting our structure, can be uncomfortable in the beginning as we adjust and get it before we get into alignment. How have you found, even though somebody who's probably worked from home, throughout your careers, but how have you found through COVID to kind of, get through the adjustment period and back into alignment of something that kind of of finding your flow?
Yeah, and that's true, right? I mean, we never thought we would be doing all these Zoom meetings and things like that. And, and I got to be honest, it's some of my first Zoom meetings, I would turn the camera off and have my profile picture up there, and I'd, be playing the guitar while my thing's on mute. Because that's, it did take a little bit of time to find that switch. But I would say that, one of the things that I've learned is change is good. Change is, if you embrace change, if you welcome change, if you align yourself with change, it can be a catalyst to get you to that next level. But I think that's hard for a lot of people they're going to fight change, right? Or they're going to try to twist things or make things kind of work the way they want them to. But I think a successful entrepreneur is like, bring on the change, bring it on, man. I am ready to do this. If you embrace change, if you make it a mantra of yours, you plug right into it, you don't fight it. It can be one of the best things. So once, and that's always been my mindset. So when we kind of got into this new paradigm, I mean, every business owner, their business model has changed. It really has, right? Whether or not it's employees that are going to have to work from home, or how they handle customers or things like that. I mean, I think of all these poor restaurants that are told, okay, you can open up, but you have to be at half capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, what do the profit margins look like in a model like that?
But I see a lot of those restaurants move heavier into carry out, alternative options. They're actually creating basically, hey, we'll package everything up and you can make it at home. I mean, they're changing the total. Yeah, it's totally changing. But I agree with you. It's very difficult for many restaurants.
Yeah, in any business model. I mean, if you just went across, looked at any of the verticals, everybody is forced to look at their business model. I mean, this is a new paradigm going forward, right? I mean, my sense is that we cannot hide from this COVID thing. We can do, we can slow down business. We can try to tell people to stay home. But the reality is we're going to have to live with this. And by live with it, I mean, live with it. We're still going to have to move forward.
It's a lifestyle virus right now.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's what we're all trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk to you, as you mentioned, about looking at the business model and innovation. I think those are some key things as far as we're all rebuilding our playbook right now. And so as you're looking at this new business that you're involved in, JR's Barbershop, right? The playbook of even barbershops, I mean, has been affected. And so how are you innovating and looking at the growth and the scalability of your business while also looking obviously at the profitability?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's challenging because a lot of our old shops, with the 6 feet distance requirement, we had to go in and retrofit these barbershops. We had to move the chairs further apart. The girls have to wear masks when they're doing cuts. In some cases during a shave, they have to wear a shield, and that becomes hot. It becomes difficult. The customers are required to wear all of this stuff too. So we're lucky that we've launched the private label line of men's grooming products, the shampoos, the hairstyling products under the All-Star Grooming name, which has opened up the profitability for us, to have our own.
But the ancillary, did you have those products pre-COVID, or were those something you pushed out while?
Yeah, they were on the radar. It was something we wanted to do, but when COVID hit and we literally, we had 3 months, the barbershops were not open. We absolutely blazed ahead. I mean, we took those 3 months and we did in a year we did in 3 months what it would take anybody to describe in a year. I mean, we were during this quarantine, we were working 12, 14-hour days to get this up and running.
Yeah, I bet. And so wait, so do you guys sell T-shirts too?
Yeah, we've got a whole apparel line. We do a fall winter. We do a spring summer. I mean, apparel, that kind of stuff is always great. And again, the margins, direct to consumer, are
margins are great.
Yeah. In apparel, it's tough, but in terms of brand building, it's everything.
Well, I'm a big believer that, people like lifestyle type of stuff, right? So and people love a T-shirt, and so even if they can't afford one thing, most people can all afford a T-shirt. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of infuses growth, and I agree with you, brand credibility. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a question. So when you look at the product lines that you sell, have you found yourself having to raise your prices? Because when you run the numbers, right, it used to be, as business owners, I see myself when I'm coaching in other companies, right, our expected numbers of people per day were X. We charge this, profitability this, expense ratio, NOI, blah blah blah. And so now we have less people that we can fit into an hour. So we either have to get more customers or sell more or raise our prices. So what are you guys, how are you dealing with that?
Well, right now we're not going to raise any prices. I mean, our thinking is that a lot of people are coming out of this 3 months, cash poor, right? And we're very sensitive to that. So we have not done anything to raise prices. The barbershops, prior to this, we were a walk-in business model. But because of the social distancing mandate by the state, we went to an appointment only. Now, the appointment only thing has actually been a blessing for us because it's great for cash flow forecasting. We can see
I bet
what's booked out there, whereas before we just kind of intuitively knew, okay, Fridays are our strongest days in these shops. We do really well on Wednesdays in these shops. So that's helped out a great deal for us. So we actually, in terms of pivoting, went to that model, and we're doing very well with that. In fact, we are doing better than expected. So we have to raise prices. Again, I think what you're talking about, we looked for areas where we could improve. We looked for ways that we could pivot to increase the volume, the number of people coming through, as opposed to raising prices.
Yeah.
And it's been successful. And
do you have ways for people to easily make an appointment online, texting, and things of that nature? I mean, that's a game changer. I agree with you. I think the more I see this in companies when I coach them, the more structure that you can put in place so somebody else can time block and structure their day. Because I would think that in your business model, there's a bit of angst thinking, I got to run in, it's walk-in only. Do I have to wait? Don't I have to wait? Versus no, like, okay, I can get in at 2:15 and I'm out the door by 2:45, however long it takes. So I would think that would be something, that would be pretty important to evolve into, regardless if Corona had hit or not. So
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's no way you forced us into a better position. And it really did.
Yeah. No, I love that. I want to go back for a minute because you've evolved your businesses, and again, and we don't know each other well, but I just know, you were in the automotive world, and then, you've moved. And I think that there are, I think sometimes people are scared to jump into something new, right? And they're sometimes I think when something is a fit, you keep going. When it's not a fit, sometimes people keep on going.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that people get complacent and they get stuck, whether it's holding handcuffs or what. And so to move to a new business takes a lot of courage because there's a lot of moving parts with it. So how have you been able to, just shape shift yourself to go kind of where your instincts guide you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I've learned is that if I have a good work ethic, a strong work ethic, a good set of skills, going from one industry into another, you'll find that the industries are very similar. In the automotive world, for instance,
you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we were selling performance parts, right? And we were selling them to distributors who were selling them to small shops, or we were selling to small shops, or we were selling online. We had this very sort of disjointed channel strategy, right? Because a lot was changing at that time. More and more people were buying from the internet, where in the past, they would go to your local repair shop or something like that.
Yeah.
That whole model, as it was changing like that for a lot of businesses. It really was. So what I found is that, if I'm happy, like happy, I could take it to really any vertical. I really could. What I love to do is I love to start new businesses. I love to see them grow. I love to see all of that, all the action that goes with it, all the angst, all of it. For me, I truly think it's just such a blessing to be part of this country, to have these kinds of freedoms. So I really look at it almost in a way like it's my way of giving back.
Yeah.
To do this, because you're right. I mean, jumping from one field to another, going from automotive to say men's grooming, that's a big jump.
But I agree with you in many respects that industries are much more similar. Like, I don't specialize. I coach all different types of companies. Yeah. I coach CEOs, leaders, managers, vice president of sales, and salespeople. And sometimes all of those groups within companies is kind of an interim, maybe COO, and sometimes individual groups. And most all industries are they all have the same issues, right? The planning, the strategizing, the people, the hiring, the recruiting, the vision, I could name a billion things right now. And so it's just the way they deal with the issues that are a little bit different. That's why I love, like you, I love to grow companies and watch them thrive and make small, little consistent changes that make a big compounding difference. Which leads me to my next question for you, Lou, is you're starting this new expansion of JRs. Mm-hmm. I think the difference between one person and another one is one person and another person doing the same thing is execution. And so during COVID right now, how do you find yourself executing even differently than you would have 3-4 months ago?
Yeah, it's such a good point. I mean, there are millions of great ideas, millions of great business plans. Everybody's got a great idea. It always comes down to execution. It always does. And one thing I'm finding is that, prior to COVID, I had more of a team. I had more resources to get things done. Now, a lot of stuff, it's one of those where I just got to get in and do it. Right?
Yeah.
I just have to do it. And it could be the small stuff like it was the other day. I'm sweeping the floors and taking the trash out. And another time I'm meeting with banks, or another time, I'm meeting with new vendors. But that's an entrepreneur, right? I'm finding that after all of this sort of COVID thing, as we're kind of coming out of this, there is a lot of this roll up your sleeves and get right back into it, because a lot of people, I think, are kind of shell shocked in a way. You know what I mean? I think staff, people like that, they're kind of like, oh my God, but life is not predictable. Nothing is guaranteed. And I think that's the entrepreneur's role. That leadership role isn't necessarily one where you rally the troops and you cheer them on and you tell them they're all great. It's one where you roll up your sleeves and you just do what has to be done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and then,
yeah, today we all got to wear a lot of hats. And what about working remotely as you grow and as you're working as a team to all for the common good? How are you effectively growing your business?
The working remotely thing, to be totally candid with you, it's hard. I really find it difficult to manage people. I find it difficult for me. I find it difficult to manage myself. I have to be in the action. And we've got the 7 shops, we've got the new men's grooming line. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I need to be out there doing it. And I like the team to be out there doing it as well.
Yeah.
This working remotely thing. We had that big push way back in the early .com era where everybody was going to work from home in their pajamas, kind of a deal. And now we see it again with this Zoom thing. But I think, to feed off the energy of each other and to make things really, really work, you're still going to have to go to work. You really are. So I'm not a big fan. I think this is how it is now. And, certain people can work remotely if it's per project. I'll do it that way. This is the project. You get that project done, you get paid for that project. But having somebody on staff or salary or something like that working remotely it's just not. I don't see any real long-term value in that. I just don't.
Yeah, I see. I do think that everyone's going to have to learn how to manage and inspire and hold people accountable, because I think this is going to be part of our workforce for a long time. I find myself working with managers a lot, working with them on strategies and tactical type stuff to make sure that they're, it's harder because you don't have that energy that you have in a workforce. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, you just don't have it. So you got to create it in some different format and fashion. Yeah.
Well, and thank God we have the cameras on the computers and things like that. You can actually see the person, right?
Well, yeah. If this happened 20 years ago, think about really how difficult it would be.
It would be impossible.
It would be really, yeah. With Microsoft Teams and with Zoom and using StreamYard, but so I hear that you don't like it, but what's one positive that you are experiencing from it?
Well, I think people have some satisfaction, or greater satisfaction, or maybe they're a little bit happier knowing that they have that flexibility. You can wear your pajamas to work or whatever, or if you want to go for a run at lunch, or you want to water the flower. They've got more flexibility, which I think gives them some sense of control, which is a good thing. We don't want people to feel like they're minions or they're being told what to do or anything like that. We want people to have that control. One thing that we really are passionate about is making sure that employees are empowered to make decisions.
Yeah.
They're going to mess up. They're going to make mistakes. And we come in and we say, listen, that's not how we do this, or here's a better way to do this. But when it's never a negative thing. It's always I'm glad you made that call. I'm glad you did that. Let's look at it this way going forward.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great. And then, I think, everybody during quarantine, like for me, I was giving myself my own haircuts. I bought a comb. Yeah. Initially, my wife had this hair dryer, was trying to shave my head. And I actually thought I did a pretty decent job. But then I got a haircut once everything started to lift. And so the other day I realized, I need a haircut. So I thought, I'll just give myself a haircut. And I started to again, and it just, I don't know, I chunked off a big piece of my hair by mistake. And So I think it's one thing that people, I think, really wanted during quarantine was a haircut, right? Men and women. You saw everybody just, on social media.
Right.
And so what is the future of barbershops when it comes to, just the business model of barbershops? Because I would think that people saw it as a market that was really in high demand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would venture to say that, there's a book out there called, I think, The Millionaire Barber,
mm-hmm.
right? And so what is the future? What does your competition look like moving forward? Because people found an industry that is really needed,
mm-hmm.
even more probably than they thought.
Yeah, we see this market. Prior to COVID, we saw more and more men asking for things like, they love the hot towel shave, they love the beard trims, they love the cuts, they love the scalp massage, but they were also asking for like manicures, pedicures, massages. So this whole model, not to necessarily tip our hat, but we are very much attuned to that next level barbershop that offers more of those services.
Right.
It almost becomes a destination place where you'll book maybe a 30-minute.
You're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll book maybe an hour and a half to hang out. Like one of the models that we have, we've got leather couches, we've got chairs, we've got like a cigar area, a coffee area, that kind of a thing where you'll go, you'll get a manicure, you'll get a haircut, and you might sit over there and return emails for a half an hour or something like that. We see
it almost like a spa / WeWork. You can actually use it to really truly relax.
Yes, exactly. And we are going to blend that model into other verticals in a way where, if you tour any of the Google campuses, they've got everything but a barbershop, right? They've got places to nap, and they've got that huge cafe and everything else. So we kind of see where this is going because men in general are taking better care of themselves. You look at the products that we're putting into the All-Star grooming line, right? Biotin and things like this to take care of skin and hair and vitamin B12. And this is stuff women have been doing forever. If you talk to your wife, she'd be like, oh my God, I knew about that when I was 12 years old. But guys are finally paying attention to this. Because the guys, what they're doing is they're saying, you know what? I don't mind getting older. I don't mind hitting 40. I don't mind hitting 50. But I don't want to look any older.
Yeah.
I want to stop right there.
Yeah, so it's a totally different world. Yeah, no, I think that's great. And it's interesting too because with quarantine, and I think there'll be. Again, I'm not a fortune teller, but it seems like there's going to be restrictions on just what's opening, what's not for some time, and businesses being able to go to work from home, and so it's actually harder to find places to have some personal time. Right? It is. You don't have the drive to the meeting, the office, to this. And so I love your philosophy of just kind of creating this destination where it is a place for people to just relax and breathe and take a minute, check some emails, grab a cigar, whatever it is. I think that's great. So tell everybody where they can even, get to a JR's and who your typical client is and, and how they can get a hold of you.
Well, you could go to jrscuts.com, jrscuts.com. We've got 7 barbershops in the Saginaw, Midland, Bay City area. We're expanding south. Our goal is to have probably another 7 shops opened up within the next 12 months. A couple of men's spas opened up within the next year. And then the men's grooming line is allstargroomingusa.com. And that's where the products and everything will be available. And then I'm on Instagram and Lou Lobsinger. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Great. I love it. My last question for you, Lou, is this. Actually, I may have 1 or 2 extra ones, but this one. So today, as we're sitting here, it's July 6th, 2020. Kids have recently graduated college, and it's a different world than it was just a few months ago of what they're graduating into. What's one piece of advice that you would give them today?
Hands down, you have got to be you have got to have a broad skill set. And by that, I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
You cannot get a piece of paper. I came out of U of M with an English degree, hoping to be a poet. I did not do anything close to that. Then I wanted to be a rock star. I lived in LA for years playing in bands and wanted to do that. So you have got to have a very broad skill set. You have got to be able to embrace change, switch gears very quickly, and move very quickly. We look at people coming in. I've looked at interns before coming in, and they won't know how to get a website up. They won't know how to register a domain and get a splash page up or do anything like that. There's like all these little skills that it's kind of like an entrepreneur needs that. You need to be able to get a splash page up, say for a promotion or whatever. I mean, there's so many things you have to do. You need a very broad skill set. You should always be learning. Always be learning. You have got to embrace a lot of skills. You cannot simply rely on that piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not only a broad skill set, and if you don't have the skill set and it's not broad enough, you need to hire that type of person to bring in that skill set. Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting that I was at the dealership the other day, and I'm asking, why is there a backlog of cars? And the guy says, I'll be honest with you, Lou, I do not have enough mechanics. And I said, we don't have enough mechanics. He says, I am having a hard time finding mechanics. And these ASC certified mechanics, like you're coming right out of that with your certification, you're making over $50,000 a year doing that. And you go get just a generic business degrey, you'd be lucky to hit that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how the whole skilled trades things come in. We see it because we have a hard time finding good barbers.
Yeah. No, I bet. I hear you on that one. And I would add to that, ask for help and have a handful of mentors, minimum 3.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Yeah, because I see a lot of great people come through here that don't have people skills necessarily, right? And they'll just simply say, "Oh, well, that's just who I am. I'm just kind of shy." You can't be. You can't be that. That may be who you are, but you've got a personality down there. We need that personality. We need that person. You know what I mean? So, look, it's competitive across the board. It's going to get more competitive here after all of this. But you've got other countries with people that have not one piece of paper from a college. They've got maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah,
and they're certified developers and everything else. So you've really got to bring your A game. But
I agree.
The opportunity and the upside is huge.
Yeah, and you got to execute every day. And you got to work really, really hard, and hard work never goes away. Last question: favorite book and why? As a poet, I expect something really great.
Dude, I have so many favorite books. I mean, like one of the simplest ones is Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. I love the story of this old guy who just would not give up. And I think that one has resonated with me immensely. I am reading a book now called Brain Power because I'm so fascinated with diet and how it affects the brain and how it affects memory. This whole, SAD diet thing, standard American diet. And I mean, the damage we're doing to our bodies, especially our brains, this is going to be huge. This is going to be the next epidemic. You think this coronavirus thing is something, just wait till you see diabetes rates and things like that. Another 20-30 days. And then the last book, Know Your Why. Simon Sinek, Know Your Why.
That's great. And The Infinite Game is his new book is great. Oh yeah, you should check it out. You'll love it.
You know what? To your point, this is another thing I would tell these kids is if you're not reading these books, if you're not on top of these books, I mean, you should be cranking through 1-2 a month.
Yeah, read it, whatever it is. I agree.
Amen.
Yeah,
because you'll find something tangible that you can implement, immediately that will make a difference.
Yeah. No, amen to that. Lou, it was a pleasure catching up with you. Congratulations on JRs. I wish you nothing but the best. Everybody who's listening, thank you so much for tuning in. If Lou can help you, reach out to him. Lou, I appreciate you, man. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad you're healthy.
Yes, you too.
And you're doing well. So thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. Hold on 4 seconds.
Okay. Thanks, John.